What I tried to do with my queues today was assess my team's comp and swap. So I actually played 4 games today. One was a slam dunk victory on Kylo, where I decided to play a split surge variant using some new runes. Maybe we'll do that on another day coming up. I had 2 losses, and I've had this as well. I think that was the way it all went. Anyway, each time I've tried to change the build to what would suit the team. So here, what have I noticed? Well, we've got the double Mirage. They'll be sort of our roam capacity characters, especially with the portals. We've got good physical damage for the team fight in a holo, and then we've got our Scourge, who's going to be good Condi damage. I think this guy was running small shades as well. I saw him on the prior game. So I actually reasonably like the comp if we round it out with a support. And I like Firebrand, but I also want to run some of this as well. And you remember on yesterday's Game of the Day, maybe 2 days ago, I played a support Tempest, but I played a flat damage mitigator into a Condi enemy comp. Well, I've assessed, you probably won't see here, but I've already assessed the enemy comp, and they have Condi, so I'm on fire this time. Well, they actually have a bit of both. So they've got a thief on their team who, you know, is going to roam around and stuff. But as far as the big team fights are concerned, I'm pretty much convinced that Condi reduction is the way to go. So that's what we're going for here. We send a Mesmer to close, a Mesmer to far. We create our field, and we blast in at the start to give people a bit of swiftness. Possibly a poor use of cooldowns on this map since the mid fights can start so quickly. I don't know whether I should just charge onto nodes at the moment. Maybe I should, because no one has any balls. They don't realize they can have balls. This is what I'm doing right now is the smarter play, but not if they all start being cowards. Anyway, which, you know, I get. I'm not criticizing. Anyway, the NG Elixir used and only hits the back 2. I'm holding the Earth Overload early because it protections everyone. And as long as I'm actually in range, it hasn't worked here. But, you know, at the end we give the Reflect Aura, which is also kind of a nice thing to open a fight with because there's that gap, and some of those abilities the enemy will use to cross the gap will be projectiles. Not many, honestly, but hey. Anyway, so, yeah, the fight engages. I get the Frost Aura up. I get Shocking Aura up. I'm trying to stand in a place where I can hit both of my allies who are super spread out and are not taking target together. The Scourge is the priority, really, that I really need to support. So, walking in his Trail of Anguish, throwing my heals around. And we're doing pretty good. You'll notice that there's basically no damage on my team, and that's because we're just ripping Condis really hard. Here I fire overloaded to try and give them some might, and when I came back through, I wanted the reflect and the cleanse, so I just dipped into my fire field at the same time so that I would give might in the area, and I actually think we get them both. Not that it's a big deal, but hey. And so, yeah, we get the kill. I Obsi Flesh and try and stomp, but I've obviously fleshed way too early, so I immediately cancel the stomp with the Overload Earth to then cancel the Overload Earth to then stomp with the stability from the Overload Earth. This Necro instantly used the 2 anyway, so maybe I baited him into that. But yeah, so I'm left to cap. I quite like how aggressive my allies were, and you know, I'm not too upset because the enemy team's on respawn anyway. It's not like I'm going to suddenly get aggressed here. It's not always the worst thing in the world leaving the support to cap. In this scenario, it's all right. Then I notice, so here I'm wondering about the minimap. My team's pushed hard. That's not actually Farpoint that they've snowballed to there. They've rushed back to close. Remember how we actually split across the entire map? Well, it's denied the enemy team anything, but we never won our matchup on close. I think an enemy Weaver, who is, you know, a 1vxer, has managed to push our Mirage off there. And so we're snowballing. This is a weird situation where I do really want to go back and support the team right now because, you know, it looks like a team fight's going to be there, and it's a team fight on close. And so, but there's that. But then there's also this Mesmer up here who's kiting a thief. And I don't know whether I can trust this Mesmer to effectively stay on this cliff and watch both nodes guarding the thief off. So I want to leave, but then I kind of don't. So I go for it anyway. And we see that the thief's back there. The Mesmer pushes onto the node. Now what I'm scared of is him getting decapped back there, right? So here there's a downstate body as well in front of me, and I've precast this because what I'm going to do is teleport on top of the body to cleave if there was rezzing and stuff going on here. I didn't know at the time. Turns out there's not. So now I assess that I've got a downstate guy, and so do they. And I want to stomp this out, but it's a Mesmer, and there's nothing I can do to stop his downstate 2. So I just try and cleave. But then he early casts the 2, which I'm like, hell yeah, sweet. So I want to stomp him. I look at this clone, but it doesn't have the red arrow above it. This one does, so I come over to this. And now I'm, you can even see me mousing over. I'm hoping to rally this guy, or just prevent this dude, my enemy, from rallying at the very least. So, I go for the stomp, but it doesn't rally him, so I don't know how worthwhile what I was doing was in the end. It might have been higher value to leave that body and just come res, because then we get the rot points from it, essentially, right? We get the longer respawn, and it might have been less risk. Anyway, I notice here that this guy, I noticed something about this dude, and I rush. I think he'd been resing earlier, so I take the big gap close, and we go for the full res, and we double res. I quite like the Scourge. So, in this game here. So, we then 3v1 this dude. And I want to leave really aggressively, basically. Because, I don't want to be left on the node again. This guy wanders into a 3v1 as well. So, the entire thing is a little bit, muted, nonetheless. So, yeah, I know that we really want to be doing damage here. So, I go for the Fire 2. I go for the Fire Overload. I give it to the Scourge. He's got the range. And as the condi's rolling already, the might will buff the condis he'd previously applied. I mean, this core guard will cleanse a reasonable amount of it. But yeah, here as well, I stood from range and gave him Shocking Aura, knowing that when this guy would re-engage, it would stun him, but he gave himself Stab, which the Shocking Aura ripped one, and then we used this and ripped another, and now he's got no Stab. And it's all about damage here, so I go for the Air Overload. I cast the Fire Aura in the middle, which heals and, applies our good stuff in the middle. There could have been a blind or a burn thrown around. The blind would have been the bigger thing that we might have cleansed before he ripped it himself. And, yeah, so we kill that and we leave it down. So far, the game's been really easy. You'll see it changes up in a second. I just took my hands off the keyboard here on the post-commentary, which is always the moment where I know I'm not going to pause very much because I want to get to where the game gets a bit more interesting. I think this is a big moment here. So they spawn camp. I like the aggression, but now they start going for the gate. And I personally think it's a little bit early for the Lord here. And I've got a really weird decision here. I'm the support. So what do? Do I support my allies at Lords, right? Making this the majority of my team. Or do I support my allies on the board, making that the three man, and that the majority of the team? Which one do I go for? Maybe pause the video and think, what's the correct decision here? We kill Lord, it's great, it's excellent snowball, right? But it doesn't win us the game, and it can be a bit of a throw, right? What's going to happen is we have at least 2 enemies on respawn, so these guys are going to have to fight a 2v2. Or, if they can rush up and get to the Lord early enough, maybe one of the respawning enemies will trickle out instead and go for decaps. So there's a possible 2v2. Do we trust them? I decide in the moment, and I'm not saying it's the correct decision. I very rarely stand by my decisions in these videos, obviously, right? But I decide that it's not the correct play to support them. I want to help on the board because my 2 allies, again, decapped. Also, the Scourge is, my ideal person that I want to support, and he's not at Lord. He's here. So I come up to try and assist them, but then I realize they're just messing around with a thief, basically, on the roads. I don't have an opportunity on far, so what I want to do is have them push. And now I realize this is a bit clunky, to be honest, because now it's a 2v1. And I kind of want to leave this guy. And now, look, we get decapped on mid. So, I don't actually... Maybe the thinking of don't support Lord was reasonable. But in the end, I haven't actually been any value to the team here. I tried to blink over with the air overload. And honestly, on my client, that should have made it. But it's probably because I'm on NA now that it landed back there. And the server didn't detect the blink in time. Anyway, so this is an Axe Mirage who's just bursting me. And so you'll see what the cleanse variant does. Forces, he just basically does no damage and dies to the Scourge. So we do get the 2v1 at least. That Mirage could have easily left and made that an even lower value play for us. I come to mid. Now something quite interesting is going to happen here. The mid was decapped by that thief, if you saw on the map, that they were playing with. He came in and he went for a full cap. If I was the thief, I'd probably go and plus over here instead of full capping in the first place. I would have neutralized and moved on, right? and made sure that that 1v1 back there goes in my team's favor if I was the thief. So anyway, I'm decapping here. I'm not particularly thinking about that thief because I haven't interacted with them in the entire game. We're in Earth Attunement as well, which I have a lot of muscle memory for being very sustainy on the Earth variant. But I insta-die. So we're on fire. We're better at... This is really... one of the reasons I quite like this game of the day is 2 seconds ago, you saw how ridiculously sturdy we are against Condi Burst. You know, that was a Mirage... Not a very well executed one, frankly. But, you know, you could see that we're very sturdy against... And on the opposite side, you see how vulnerable we are here to power. It's very, very... specific to different kind of builds here. And I like that. I wish more of the game's design was like that, you know, that you're really forced into one line or the other. Unfortunately, most builds do too much of everything. Anyway, so we get burst really hard. We just insta-die. And, you know, I think this is really... The thief ends up getting great value off of this because he manages to burst me down. I do think it's a very unexpected play, though, because I think if I were him, I would have plussed elsewhere. But he gets the value out of it. I find that really, really crazy that he manages to get the kill. And you see that I got a double backstab here of 21,000 damage total. I was wondering how he landed a double backstab because I was like, what the hell is that? But actually, it was he opened with one, and his last hit on me here was a backstab as well. So it's not like he did any weird reveal trick that I don't understand. You'll notice here as well, as obscene as that is not Deadeye. Quite often, people scream and shout and cry foul. Oh, it's elite specialization power creep. That was a cool thief that did that there. Or he could have been a daredevil. I don't know. He's just thief, isn't he? Anyway, yeah, because we can see from the icons now. So, down we go. I'm not going to cry foul about that because he's possibly... I don't know what he's running, traits and stuff. But that could be very contingent on long cooldowns. He could be completely fucking useless elsewhere in the game. He's been getting slam dunked. I've not seen him be any value anywhere, really, until there. That said, after he managed to plus me, he went off and got my Scourge over there as well. So, really, really good for the thief here. Because he managed to defend mid, split me away from the Scourge, and then plus the Scourge. Who, unfortunately, I'm going to be really crap at supporting for the rest of the game. I'll just be honest right now. Because I'm barely ever paired with him now. So, that whole Lord thing, you'll notice we're losing the game pretty hard. You'll see that my two guys, the Mirage and the Hollow, are still in the enemy base. Now, it looks like they're farming someone on respawn. Which they probably think is okay, like, value-wise. I don't know whether they're winning any straight-up 2v2s, but we're not winning on the board here over this. They're not managing to push Lord. They are still essentially 2v1ing, which isn't high value, so I don't know. And they're still there. Eventually, they both just decide to bail. We lose a lot of momentum. Now, if I'd gone with them, it's possible we would have just swept like the tide to that Lord, cleared it out, and gone on. Oh, here, there's a lot going on. You might wonder why I just moved off the node here. So, coming back to my actual plays in the moment. So, as I'm pushing off of close, which we've just, you know, supported and want to fight on, I'm looking at mid, which I know is open, but I'm looking at far, right? And far, we know that our Scourge just got plussed by that thief, and they have 2 players there. So what's very... Or I think they've got 2 players there. So what's very likely to happen here is those players are going to run up. Potentially even. Now I don't have... Fog of War is re-established over there. Potentially even it's the other player that's there and the thief will run up. So I'm racing here with the... there's actually a big debate going on in my mind as I'm walking along this cliff. Whether I'll even come to the node or not. What I'm racing for is a decap. And only a decap. Because I'm a support on my own. If I go for full cap on this... I will, I'm just going to get grinded down and be low on cooldowns by the time my allies come in. There's not much I can do. So I'm hoping to get the decap, and I'm even concerned that I might not fully get it. So that's why my position is right on the back of the ring here. And the second that I've got it, I'm just going to leave. And I'm reticent to show my back as well because of the whole backstab situation we were in. And so you see the guy drop off in stealth, right? So we did get it in time. Now all I got to do is just wait for my allies to engage in mid. And I've got 2 coming under there. They're not going to need my support. They got strength of numbers here. And I got this guy. I keep making this mistake. I don't know why I have all this, like, belief that if I overload next to someone, I give them swiftness. Anyway, we gave the guy Prot, Earth Aura, and now we come onto the nodes. But this is, like, really clunky again, because we've got no one. It's really frustrating playing in a certain role and you know that your team's missing another one, and you can't do anything about it. And what that is right now is effective backnoding and effective roaming right now. Nearly all of us, I don't know, we got 2 Mirages. They should just be watching it closer. Have I seen any portals this game either? I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure we could talk about lots of specifics of what I'm doing in this fight to stay alive. Here we go for a stomp and a rally. I don't get it because the obsidian flesh runs out. That's my bad. Here's really weird. What I did was I vapor formed, but instead of going into vapor form, it just gives me a ton of health. So I think I vapor formed at such low health here. I've never experienced this in all of Guild Wars 2. Ever. I don't think I've ever experienced this. Let's watch again. Right at the last tick, I get stunned and insta-killed once again by the same burst. I'm low. I press vapor. Look at that. Why does that happen? And it gives me 30,463 health. Or 39,000 maybe. But I don't actually get into vapor form. I've got no idea. What is the situation there? Anyway, the vapor form was to ideally delay this. It's weird, this situation. What would you choose? Would you choose a vapor form that makes you invulnerable for a few seconds, then reestablishes you at the same low health? Or would you choose a big flat heal? What one is actually preferable, I wonder? Which one delays my death for longer? I guess it depends if they're cleaving or stomping, right? In this case, they were cleaving, and it actually kind of helped. I don't know, maybe that wasn't too much better. But we do delay it. That's another nice thing, you know, Firebrand. Once you get the Firebrand down in a team fight, if it's Firebrand support, once you get the Firebrand down in a team fight, it's kind of GG in a lot of ways. Well, not always, but, you know, in that situation. But as an Ellie, you can actually delay and bait a rally out because of Vapor Form. Anyway, so, yeah, I'm air overloading here in case the thief jumps me because the pressure from it will hit him very hard, and the shocking aura will save me too. If you notice on that previous death, yes, it was a big backstab at the start, but then it was lots of rapid hits afterwards, which he'd be impossible to be able to deliver because of shocking aura. So probably the best thing to linger in now is actually air. I just have a lot of muscle memory for earth, I think. Because if you're running earth specialization, you're uncrittable, you get extra toughness, you give yourself protection from rolling into it, you know, which is another 33% left, so it's often safer. But air's probably better now, just so I can quickly shock an aura, you know, at a dangerous moment, and precast and air overload. And the precast and the air overload will show me things as well, like I'll go into combat early. So here I'm trying to cleave this guy and just get the pressure. My air auto attacks aren't really doing enough. Here we go for the air overload, but he's got his trait proccing with evade, evade, evade. Super frustrating to play against, but I take comfort in knowing the balance nerfed the cooldown for a while. And once again, I'm in the exact same position. I hate this. This is such an annoying game. I've been left to backnode. And it's a thief. I can't move faster than the thief. Look at how my entire team has pushed to far and they're dying. Look at all these condis on them. I need to be at far. But the hollow has left me here now. We lose the entire map over this, right? In theory. I don't know whether we actually will. I can't remember just yet. But I can't do anything. He's going to decap that. If I try to deal with it, he's going to race past me and he's going to decap mid. I'm also vulnerable to just dying instantly. It's so annoying. I've got the... Oh, yeah. So that's what was going through my mind in the moment. And we see that this is happening here. Funnily enough, I've just been stolen to. You can kind of get a feel for it in the moment. You can see his little shadowy footprints here. And we've had a Ray of Judgment cast on us. So actually, I'm 1v2 here. And it's a different person recapping our close. So what has actually happened is my entire team has zerged to far and struggled in a 4v2. Because I'm interacting with... well, I'm not interacting with 3, but I have visibility on 3. 1 on close and 2 here. So that's a 4v2, and look at their health here. Amazing. But, yeah, so I get bursted. We do have Obsi Flesh. Everything I said about air versus earth in preventing a burst is obviously when Obsi Flesh is on cooldown. Which also gets a longer cooldown when you're not running earth, by the way. That's another value of earth. That the Obsi Fleshes come up quicker. Anyway, so I'm forced off the node. I can't do anything. I know that I've got them coming zerging back now. But I am concerned about this guy. So here's how I opt to deal with it. I blink towards the gate. I take the evades towards the gate. And I get into earth. And I get the shocking aura going. And I know I'm safe now. I auto a few times. I don't know whether he's actually going to engage on me. I walk back towards the node now with the air overload for another shocking aura and whatnot. I realize I've got combat break. He's probably pushed into mid. But my team's managed to swing back. You know, our team is playing terrible. Since that moment at Lords, terrible. It's extremely fortunate we had like a 200-point lead at the beginning with the enemy team on nothing. It's so bad. Again, like I'm in a weird, frustrating position here where I can't do much. Finally, I've repaired with the Scourge. How long has that been? This Scourge must think I'm the shittiest support he's ever seen. Because, I mean, how little time have I spent with him here? And even here, I'm kind of splitting away. It's just... okay, so, sorry, there's a whole other world going on now. The Thief didn't jump me. He went through the gate, and he's trying to take Lord. And I think we already have 2 people there to aggress it, but I can see this guy's going here, and I don't know whether the enemy team wants to deal with it. Knowing that he's rushing like this, what I'm actually going to do is decap him. This Mirage is making a big mistake here, in my opinion. All he needs to do is come and prevent this. Well, I don't know how much damage I do to a Mirage, and I can sustain him. But anyway, he's going to try and deal with, help his allies. So this Mirage has got a Weaver over there and a Thief over there in a 2v2 against my 2 Mirages. If he gets there, that becomes their number advantage, but he's late because my team's already scored a kill. So I take the decap. Oh, no, and they have the Necro. Their entire team's here. Okay, so... In-game me made the right decision here, I think. I should come support this because the enemy team did send a lot. Even though they are dying and they're trickled. Maybe I didn't need to come here, actually. Yeah, I didn't need to come here. I think what's going on in this game is I'm just so hungry for some kind of good team fight. Some kind of big engagement where I'm actually there. Do you know what I mean? And I just so rarely am. An enemy player did consider capping this, by the way. And then after I left it, and we were all at Lords, and then they left. And whoever that player was, I think, made the right decision, because he realized his team just lost at Lord, and a huge Zerg was going to be on its way here. So they left. Now this guy's respawn. I mean, what some of these players, why would you run into such an outnumbered scenario, you know? So yeah, I get off. Let them Zerg back. I don't want to be dealing with this. I want to help at mid. We want to watch their respawn because we see here on the mini map that there's a Mesmer on respawn who might try and cross underneath us. We watch here. I like this Hollow's position. He's pushing up. I can come support him and make sure he doesn't die. The Thief goes for another burst on me, but it doesn't manifest into anything this time and insta dies, right? So, you know, that's the punishment for playing a build like that. The Hollow can re-engage on the Mesmer, who also dies. So we get the little attack there on their spawn and leave their bodies. And that's what we need to re-sustain, finally, in this game and actually hold it. And you'll notice my team started actually 1v1ing on the sides. And my Scourge won a 1v1 over there as well. So we actually just trip-capped them at the end of the game. Actually, no, they didn't win. So there you go. Odd game. Trying to support with... I mean, it's... Have you noticed the theme of this season? There seems to be a lot of roaming stuff. Is that just... I'm wrong now and roaming is very different to what I understand it to be? And I think that everyone's being really wonky and they're actually not? I have no idea. There you go, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.